Okay, Gene, did you intend for this to stream on YouTube?
No, I usually do exactly what you're doing. I
Okay,
just record them. I record them to a Zoom site, then go back, and usually I just have to trim the beginning and end.
okay. Well, welcome to the Multimedia SIG portion of the 10-week camera course, everybody. We mentioned in the first session of the 10-week course that you could find the detailed class notes for this session on the Camera Club's website under Multimedia and the Educational Resources section. So I'm sure that everybody has downloaded and or read those, and we'll be able to move right through this without having to sit here and read you the notes. And I don't know about all of you, but I despise it when people read me stuff that I've got in my hand in front of me. So what we're going to do is go through it, hit the headings, and then where we've got strong opinions one way or the other about that particular area, we'll try to flesh that out. Before we move too fast through it, we'll try to handle questions as we're going along.
Did anybody not find the notes? Good. Okay.
Well, everybody's muted, so
They can unmute.
yeah, or send us a hand. But I guess we're back to what is multimedia and what will it do for you? We listed lots of things that you can do with it, from the personal to the professional, and a few things out in between. But in general, we're talking about two kinds of videos. We're talking about gallery shows or more classic video styles. Now, the gallery presentations being just a series of photographs, there's not much going on in there except for the photographs and the music and any narration you may put on top of it. So what you want to do is keep those to a reasonable length.
What? No neighbors slideshows? What I did on vacation?
God, did anybody out there when they were a kid ever get dragged over to the neighbor's house for the 4-hour slideshow of his 2-week vacation in Galveston? Yeah. So
I'm sitting here laughing, Brad, because my dad used to come home and he'd show all those slides to all the neighbors. And I'd say to my mother, how come they come over here to watch this stuff? It's terrible. My mother say free beer and popcorn.
yeah. So, whenever somebody plops together 30 minutes worth of random photographs and sticks random music on it one after the other, think of it as the slideshow about the 2-week vacation in Galveston, and don't do it to other people, okay? Videos that are a combination of still photography and video and maps and graphics and whatnot, that's a true multimedia presentation. And that's kind of where we're going to go today, but we will talk about the gallery shows also. One thing we would ask you to do when you're starting out, start small. That's really the way to go. If you don't try to do Gone with the Wind your first time out of the shot. You're just going to frustrate yourself. So don't spend a lot of money. Don't spend a lot of time. When you have a project and you're starting out, I'll tell you what you do, and you're going to hear this a lot today. Bring it to the Multimedia SIG and show it. Get input, ask for suggestions, ask for, oh, why did you do that? Believe me, the folks in the Multimedia SIG are not going to beat you to death with a stick just because you made what might be considered a rookie error. We've all made them. Trust me, I certainly have made them. Susan catches me on those all the time.
Another reason to use the SIG is perhaps you don't know where to go with it. What would make a good show, a reasonable show? What style do you like? Come to the SIG for a while and just watch videos. See what people are doing.
That's one of the things that's fun to see in the SIG is people that start out at one level, and then over time, after they've done a couple, 3 videos, they start to develop a style of their own. And that's when you know that folks are paying attention and they're learning and they're growing with their multimedia projects. It's fun to watch that process. Now, when you bring a video to the SIG, you're not necessarily producing a video for the SIG. It can be for any audience, and that's where you build a lot of your videos around is who is your audience? Is it a kindergarten class, a bunch of young adults, junior high age,
The birding club.
the birding club, the general public in general? You're doing it for a bunch of senior citizens like us. But the audience that shows up is going to be determined by how you advertise your video. And that's going to be determined by how you built it, depending on your audience. It's a circular thing there. Length of the videos. We really think you need to start at 3 to 5 minutes. And we put it in the notes and like to emphasize it. Whatever you do, do not pack 1 minute of good video or photographs into 5, 10, or 15 minutes of, oh my God, when is this going to end? We have sat through videos that consisted of maybe a half a dozen photos that all looked pretty much alike, repeated over and over again with different transitions and little effects and whatnot, with some music that maybe fit. I don't know. We were too puzzled by what was going on the screen. Well, okay, it went on for 5 minutes, probably. It seemed like 15. Don't do that. Don't be afraid to produce a 1 minute video. I'd rather see a great 1 minute video than a mediocre or, oh my gosh, 10-minute video any day. I'm going to show you a video now, and this is to demonstrate what you can do in 1 minute. And that's coincidentally the title of this video. So bear with us here while we do the share. I need to change that too.
Qu'est-ce que c'est? C'est enfin arrivé, j'avais raison. Maintenant, c'est chacun pour soi. On dit ça facile, on va l'amener. Quand j'ai commencé à construire tout ça, tu m'as pris pour un cinglé.
Arrête!
Non! Je tiendrai plus longtemps.
Allez, on va
tout
rentrer
seul.
maintenant.
C'est moi qui avais raison.
Attends, François,
Si qui que ce soit essaye de rentrer, j'hésiterai pas une seconde.
François, attends!
That was good.
Oh, that is really
So anybody that thinks that can't tell a story in 1 minute, think about that film the next time somebody says that in your hearing. For anybody that likes to track down sources for all of this stuff, that one we found on Vimeo.com. That's one of our favorite places. It's like YouTube without the juvenile aspects. Okay. Now the other time limits that we put there, that's pretty much a just off the top of our heads guideline. But we figured that if somebody can describe, the formation of the universe in 15 minutes at a TED Talk, 15 minutes is stretching it. The thing is, think about Showtime and Travelog. They say you've got up to 20 minutes. That doesn't mean you have to use all 20 minutes, okay?
A good rule of thumb is you always want to leave them wanting more.
Absolutely. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the honest test audience. It's pretty well spelled out there. That's what you hopefully are going to get at the Multimedia SIG. We kind of use a sliding scale. We had a misunderstanding. Somebody a few years ago now brought in a video, they shall remain nameless, and showed it at the SIG and said, well, what do you think? What do we need to do with this? And all of us techno geeks, oh yeah, you got a black frame here, and this transition could have been that, and this and that, and this and that. And thought we gave her, a lot of really good advice and a critique, and didn't know it at the time. Somebody told me later that on the way out, she turned to him and said, well, gosh, I guess they really didn't like my video. And that just crushed us, because that was certainly not true. It was a nice little video. We thought we were helping, and we both took it wrong. So we put out the word that, this happened. We're not going to let it happen again. So if you've got a thin skin, we're going to have a little dialometer for the constructive criticism. It's going to go from 0 to 10. At 0, it's, oh, that was lovely, dear. And 10 was, yeah, okay, we're going to go to town. And it's worked pretty well since then. When somebody asks,
It's not always a thin skin.
yeah,
Perhaps I don't care what you think. I just want to show my video.
yeah,
Keep your opinions.
yeah, you can bring your video in and say, I'm going to show it, and I'm not looking for any criticism because I think it's fine. And in case we're going to go, oh, that was lovely, dear. And just enjoy watching the video. I want to show you something now that is a video that we saw for the first time in the SIG, and it was brought in by a fairly new face in the SIG, and it was her very first video. Remember that, it was her first video. She had listened to the stuff, she had read some stuff, and it helps that she's got a good eye in terms of photography, but she also applied a lot of the stuff that she picked up. And we'll tell you the kicker to this is as soon as we've played it. So hang on, we'll get this one set up, hopefully correctly this time.
Go to share.
Okay, the kicker in that, every one of the photos was taken with a cell phone and it was edited with free software. What's the name of that? iMovie. It's free with Apple products. So I think that Grace Pitzer teaches classes for the club on iMovie. It's a fairly stable product and it's commonly found. So she does a terrific job with that, and we recommend that that you take those classes.
If you're Apple.
Yeah, if you're Apple, although the principles, this is something we will repeat a lot, the principles remain the same from one software to the next. Then we'll go to organization with storyboards. You can, in the privacy of your own homes, stick up your hand if you've ever seen a storyboard. And for all of those of you who said no, how many of you have ever held a comic book in your hands? Those are storyboards, and you can see them in action with any one of the Marvel Studios movies. They're all based on comic books, and a storyboard is just a pictorial representation that moves through the story that you're trying to tell, and you build your project, your production around those. They don't have to be drawings. They can be written out, paint a word picture from one thing to the next. That's pretty much the way we do it, because if you think you're bad at drawing, you have not seen my stuff. I just don't go there.
Well, they could also just be an outline. I'm going to show day one of our trip. Here we are on the river. Here we are doing whatever. And then day two is another chapter and so forth.
Yeah. So if you're really interested in learning more about storyboards, then Holly Chorba teaches a class on story, which is a good place to go. Let me see if I have, where to go. We have a sample of a storyboard, and I will share this real quick.
This one is a lot of detail. It's not something most of you will go to.
Yeah, this is a storyboard that we put together. This is how a video progresses. This also will get, that's the schedule of shooting. This is the shot list. And this is the actual storyboard itself, where things work. This is what it is, the shot number, the time mark in, how long it is, description. There's a lot of information on this. Trust me, you don't have to go there.
Thank you. That one happens to be for a big project. So
Yeah,
we needed the detail because we were working with a number of people.
Yeah, we've done things like that for projects we did in the past, but no, you don't have to go to that extent. It can be on one sheet of paper with a half a dozen frames.
Yep. Or an outline.
Yeah,
Brian, I often use PowerPoint to make my storyboards, or a similar type program, where I just put the information on a slide and then I can print them out, run through them, and do all that. That's
Great.
pretty simple, but it works.
Great idea. Thank you.
okay, then we'll go into content at this point. And still photography. The whole point of the 10-week course here has generally been photography. We're just giving you a way to do something with all the photos. Well, anything that, think of it this way, anything that you put in a video in terms of a still photograph should be of the same quality as something that you would be happy to hang on your wall at home. All of the rules of photography apply. Composition, white balance, all of that stuff. Now, when you put it on the screen, it depends on what it is. If it's a little small picture, not much going on, it could be on there for 4 to 6 seconds. If it's something that you're going to have to pan across a big panorama, then you're going to have to extend the time a little bit. But here again, we want you to keep it. It's a gallery show. We're not putting video in it yet. This is all still photography. Keep it short, 5 to 7 minutes, really tops. Don't go past that for now. And even that might be stretching it a little too far. Remember, it's a video and you want to keep things moving. But video, all of the same rules apply as for still photography. There's some things though that you really need to use. Does anybody remember that phase where the news media went through, where every single shot that the cameraman would take, he was moving around and in and out, and after a while I said, oh my gosh, couldn't wait for a commercial so that the camera would hold still. One thing that we didn't used to use a lot was gimbal photography, because gimbals were pretty expensive. But they've come down to the point now where the prices are so reasonable that there's no reason not to use one. This is one we picked up. Come on. Picked it up for less than $100. It's for GoPro, and what it does is it holds that camera level no matter what you're doing. And we knew it would help a little bit. We didn't know how much it was going to help until we took it out on a recent trip. I'm going to show you some raw footage here. The thing to watch in this, to tell how hard this gimbal is working, is the hood of the vehicle. You're going to see it doing some things while the camera remains remarkably steady. And this was shot by holding that gimbal out the window and forward a little bit. So let's show you what we did here. These silly little things, that gimbal costs less than $100, can do a remarkable job in improving your photography. If you can't use a gimbal, then you're going to have to do it with post-production stabilization in software. Okay, there's a number of sport cameras, GoPros notably, that have built-in stabilization. And some of them do a fairly good job, but it comes at a price. That stabilized image that you're watching is actually only a portion of the original image. What it does to get that stable image in the middle is that it eliminates a bunch of the image, the original image, around it on the fringes to just show you the part that doesn't move in the middle, and it's all relative. While we're on the subject of stabilization and shooting and equipment, please, you don't shoot video like this with a cell phone. You shoot it like that. That's all I'm going to say on that. Graphics, maps. We've got a terrific resource available in Google Earth. And we like to use Google Earth maps to add to the story, to orient people on where they are in the world. So what I'm going to do now is show a sample of one that we used a Google Earth piece of footage on. Yep.
Arguably one of the most famous trails in America, Bright Angel departs from Grand Canyon Village and descends via Jacob's Ladder in Garden Creek Canyon. This trail takes you through the well-known landmark of Indian Garden, a popular rest and water stop. It then generally follows Garden Creek to the river, a total of 8 miles one way. This hike lures thousands of visitors into the canyon every year. That most of them are woefully unprepared for this hike is evidenced by the frequent signs warning visitors against attempting to hike to the river and back, 16 miles in a single day.
We gave a presentation on how to use Google Earth to create sequences like that in the Multimedia SIG during one of our regular meetings a couple of years ago. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, we'd look at doing that again sometime down the road.
Another reason that you might be interested in looking at this is, could we have flown a drone there to get the same shot?
Excellent point. You cannot fly a drone in a national park. Even people with the money to spend to apply for the permit don't always get permission to do it. It's extremely difficult to do. It's illegal, and they will write you a heck of a ticket.
So when you use Google Earth, you're using the government's drones.
Yeah.
They don't get in trouble.
Something else about that I want you to notice is the use of narration. We're going to come back to this in just a minute, but the main purpose of narration is to minimize the amount of time that your audience has to spend reading text on a screen. It really lengthens your video if you do it all with text. Where are we on here?
If you're going to have
Fonts.
text.
Yeah, if you're going to add text, use a font that people can read. Don't make them be wondering what it said when it moves on. Motion graphics, we just did. Something about plug-in graphics. You can get a lot of these things to add whatever on top of your images. There should be a point to using that kind of thing, rather than just randomly putting stuff boink, boink, popping in and out on the screen. We just don't get it, and it distracts. If you've got great images, why would you want to distract from them by sprinkling butterflies across the screen or something like that? And with that, we're going to jump right into sound and music. This is a really big issue with the two of us. We absolutely agree with George Lucas that it's half of your production. It's essential to understanding how to make a good video. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter one bit if you've got the most fantastic images in the world. If your music, your sound is bad, your movie is going to be forgettable. Or at least
unforgettable because it was horrible.
Oh God, did you remember what that music sounded like? See what I mean? You can end up with an average, or even if the music's bad enough, a bad video. On the other hand, a video with average images, you can really step up its game if you get the sound and the music right.
Evokes emotions.
Yeah, it evokes emotions, it builds excitement, it produces a calming effect. All of this can be generated just with the music alone. Mm-hmm. If you combine great images with great sound production, well, then you get something that is special that people will remember forever. Show you my favorite movie, a clip from it. And yes, we can use this much of it because of the fair use doctrine on video. So let us get this started. all of that done on film, not digital. We can't all be David Lean with Maurice Jarre as his composer in his pocket. But what we can do is aspire to produce decent videos that people will enjoy watching. And all it takes is a little bit of effort. That's my #1 film of all time. And people will be watching that long after we're gone. So it can be done. All it takes is enough budget and talent and work. Okay, enough of that soapbox. Voiceover. This is something that we did not used to do. Our first video, never even thought of doing it, but it's extremely useful. We recently redid an old video of ours that had relied exclusively on text on screen. And we converted all of the text to voiceover narration. It went from a 9+ minute video to a 6-minute video. Included more images, included a map sequence, and was a much better and easier to watch video. What can you use to record? Well, first of all, I'm going to show you the absolute worst thing you can use to record your voiceover. Can everybody see those 2 little holes right above that? That's the microphone. Don't. That's the worst sound possible. What can you do instead? Well, a lot of camera manufacturers sell a little add-on microphone that plugs into it. This is the one for Nikon. This is a, it's hard to get used to where that thing is. This is what we call a dead mouse.
Rat.
And well, that's that one.
Okay,
This is
mouse.
a mouse, and it muffles wind noise. This is actually a little shotgun mic.
Is that hot shoe? Yeah.
Yeah. This is a somewhat bigger shotgun mic, more sound discrimination. And yes, see, it's a rat instead of a mouse. And it looks like this underneath all of that. This lets you isolate sound out to the side. And by aiming it at whoever is talking, you will get mostly them and not so much the freeway noise from over there. Another thing that you can use that we didn't put on the original notes is a lavalier mic. You see TV people using these all the time. It's got a little bitty one on a sound screen on it, windscreen. That's what it looks like underneath there. You can record with this into an external recorder, something like the Zoom H4n. I think these are about $150 now. It's an older recorder, but a lot of people still use them. You can record with lavaliers. You can record with XLR connectors.
And where else is this good by itself? Concerts.
Oh
Whole room full
yeah.
of people.
It's a stereo recorder, so you can set this back a ways and you can get concerts or plays or whatnot. It does a pretty good job. You can record directly into your computer with a USB mic. The one that we use is this job right here. It's actually an XLR, but we run it through a converter to turn it into USB. That is a cardioid mic that picks up stuff that's immediately right around the front of it and doesn't pick up stuff that's much further away. There's a ton of microphones out there. Check with the folks, come to a SIG meeting before you buy one and run it through and see what we think about your possible selection. And you'll get more than enough advice. There are people in the SIG that are much better at sound than we are. So come on down. We'll talk to you about it. Let's see, what do we got? Let's see. Oh yeah. You can find really good deals on places like Amazon, and if anybody has never heard the term gray market, you need to know about it. Gray market is when you bought the latest Nikon
Or last year.
D50,000 camera, and you get it and it works for a couple of months.
But I got a deal.
But it was a deal. I know. And something stops working on it. So you take it in for a warranty repair and Nikon says, that's not our camera.
Or even before that point, you try to register it so that you have a warranty and they tell you that it's
Not our camera.
counterfeit or it's already been warranted by somebody else. Yeah.
So we will pay a few bucks more to go to a reputable supplier like B&H Camera. We use them a lot. And there are others. Do some research, come to the SIG and find out where the folks in the SIG are buying their stuff. But be careful. I have the rat.
All right.
All right.
Watch your time.
These things are going to save you, or at least make it much smaller. What we hear in videos a lot, wind noise. Okay. Okay, nobody wants to hear that over a picture of a nice countryside. It's not just wind. One of the drawbacks to doing a nice video when you're recording out in the field is you can't control the people around you. You can have the most beautiful thing in the world and some total strangers are 5 feet behind you babbling about their, their high school reunion. There's nothing you can do with that. What you're going to have to do is cut the soundtrack and replace it with dubbed in sound and or voice narration, or just go with music and live with that.
You'll also have sound. If you're trying to record narration at home, you might have your air conditioning kicking on. There are some techniques to deal with some of that and retrieve a good narration.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
We're at 2:20.
Yeah, we're going to have to pick up the pace a little bit. When it comes to recording sound, that freesound.org, that's a terrific source for dub sound effects. And yes, we have used them in videos that we've done. And do it yourself. You remember Monty Python and the 2 coconuts down the trail? That's a do-it-yourself Foley sound effect. Software, we're still using Audacity. Fairlight, part of DaVinci Resolve, is free. It's a little more complicated. We're feeling our way through that. We're getting a lot out of it, but we're still learning. And now we get to music. Before we start this section, we will freely admit that when we started out making videos, we had no idea about any of this copyright nonsense. And we
Nobody did.
Cheerfully used whatever music we found. And that we thought would go great with the images. And yeah, James Horner stuff, Hans Zimmer does some really nice stuff. But if you put a Hans Zimmer's soundtrack on your video and try to post it on YouTube, it's not going to fly. They're going to be contacting you about that. Somebody who got introduced to the concept of, doing music the way that we're doing it, made the remark, music's hard. Well, yeah, it is. But because it's hard, now you've got an instant tell on how hard somebody actually worked on their video. If they did the easiest thing and just stuck a chunk of music on it that really doesn't do anything for the video, they didn't try. So that's kind of blunt, but it's true. And now that you've heard that, you're going to start thinking about that when you see some videos. You'll see. Where were we? Legal. Yeah.
But can't I get away with it? I got away with it last week.
Yeah, you got
I hear
away with
that
it
a lot.
last week. That and a new one that we've started seeing is using copyright music and crediting it by putting music by so and so or thus and so in the credits. That's good enough, isn't it? We credited it. No, that's called trying to invent a license to steal. It's not how it works. Crediting illegally obtained or used music does not confer license to use it. Do it right. Consequences are going to vary. If you persist in using music without a license, YouTube might just say, can't do that, and blank your audio track. Keep it up, they'll start issuing strikes. And too many strikes, and you're going to get kicked off YouTube. Now, some bigger corporations like Disney, you'll find cease and desist letters. Where's Gene?
I'll throw him under the bus.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw
Yeah, I'm
Gene-
here.
Gene
I
under
got a file folder of those. I quit now.
Yeah, they'll send you cease and desist, but if you're really egregious in irritating them, it could very easily get to the point of, we'll see you in court, and guess who can afford better lawyers? It's easiest just to do things right. There is a lot of information on, here it is again, the SIG website, which is on the Camera Club website, that lists good sources of music. On the subject of using instrumentals, voice music with vocals, if you have narration going on the screen, you don't want a music track that has somebody singing, because now you're trying to understand two people at once. It's pretty simple. And we're going to emphasize this one. Remember what we said about not cramming 1 minute of good video into 5? There's sometimes we see where, well, the music is 5 minutes long, so I've got to do 5 minutes worth of. No, learn how to edit music as well on your audio tracks, and you can make a short piece shorter or long piece shorter and a short piece longer. We're going to show you where we've done that on one of ours here in just a few minutes. The needle drops, duck overs, J cuts, L cuts, we're going to show you that also. Edit to the beat. When we first started doing this, the reactions ranged from, hey, that's pretty cool, to, oh no, you should never do that. Well, sorry, we think that it really adds something to it. We're going to play you a clip. This is edited to an 8-count beat, and we'll let it run through a couple of transitions so that it really nails what we're talking about here. But you can see it was a very distinct thing. From 8 counts, it would change every time. You can get variations on that by when the music makes some sort of a shift in tone or emphasis, by shifting how you're doing the photos that you're showing. We went to a pronounced zoom on a couple.
It doesn't
Anyway.
always have to be eight seconds.
Yeah, it could-
Time interval depends on what you're showing in the video.
Yeah, we did a kind of a high energy one. We can't show anymore because it was copyrighted music that changed every 4 seconds, but it really kept moving. Okay, that one, if you really want to see it, it's on the Camera Club Multimedia SIG website in the gallery section. Okay, and last but not least, back up. Okay, here is one of the truths of the universe. If you do not back your stuff up, at some point, you're going to lose it forever and ever. If you wait a long time, then you'll lose a lot of stuff. So that's where we'll leave that one. When we're in the field, we have a 1 terabyte portable drive that we plug SD cards into at the end of every day, and we end up with a backup of a backup in the field.
By backup of a backup, you copy your SD cards to the drive, but you do not erase your SD cards to your home and make sure that you have a copy somewhere.
Yeah.
We've already seen
Let's
that.
see, putting it together, software. If you go to the SIG website, there is under software resources, there's a good matrix of various editing softwares that are used by people in the SIG. Tells you a little bit about it, how much it costs, whether it's a monster that's going to require a college degree, or you can pick it up in an afternoon. So we recommend that you have a look at that page. And
we also have on that chart how often it is used by people in the SIG. You don't want to
Yeah.
choose an
So-
unusual thing that you read about on some forum or something if nobody knows how to help you.
Yeah,
You're an island.
we'll most likely just sort of look at each other and go, what's he talking about? I've never
Yeah.
heard of that.
We can teach you concepts and help you with concepts, but not necessarily specific software.
In the short list there on the notes, it had Windows Movie Maker. We've replaced that in the next edition with Windows 10 photo app. It actually has a little basic editor in there that you can make movies with,
Mhm.
complete with sound and letter text and everything. Okay, we've talked about a number of terms along the way, and there's no time here to teach you. And if we were going to try to teach you how to use this stuff, it would be another 10-week course devoted strictly to software, and then you'd be done with the basic portion. You will find when you're learning this stuff that Google is your friend. A lot of the actual software manufacturers, like DaVinci, have hours of online tutorials and references that you can access, and it's all free. Eventually, you're going to find creators of the information you're seeking in addition to this online. Some of those we note on the website page again. But one thing that most of these software products have in common is the principles that they use are the same
In
from
terms.
one to the next. The principles, the terms.
Like a J cut.
Yeah,
Always.
J cuts, L cuts, transitions. We're going to bring up a timeline and show you a couple of things on it. All right, this is the timeline from DaVinci Resolve for the Down in the Canyonlands thing that we looked at. J cuts, show you that. A J cut is when the sound begins before the images begin. At the end, an L cut is when the image fades and the music keeps going. The image fades and the music hung in there for just a bit. This is one of those places where this line down here is the sound. That's the music, the green line above it. All of this stuff is the narration, the voiceover. We needed 11 seconds more of the music. So we spliced a chunk in here. Let me blow it up so you can see what's going on. And we put a crossfade on it so that you can't tell. So I'm going to back out a little bit and play it and see if you can hear where the sound changes.
Treasures at your feet. There are windows in the rock everywhere. We saw very little.
Okay, you should not have been able to tell where one chunk of the music began and the other one ended. See, that's the spliced in piece. Now, if you listen to the music track on a video that you're watching and the music stops while a picture is on the screen and there's a second or two of no sound, and with the same picture on the screen, a different piece of music starts, we call that a needle drop. And that's kind of frowned on by people that do videos that like to do things right. What else? What are we going to do on this one?
Ducking.
Oh yeah, ducking. Let me push this up and bring this one in.
What is ducking?
All right, ducking is you do not want the music as loud as the voiceover. You want the music to get a little quieter underneath the narration. And here is a sample of that. We'll just look at this one. Enlarge it. See this line, there's a line in there that goes from each one of these points. Each one of these points is a change in the volume. And you can see where it got loud here. In fact, I can make it louder. And it got quieter down here because the narration was going to start. There was a little loud point in the music here that would have been just a little bit too loud, so we ducked it even more. The term comes from the narration. Think of it as a low bridge, and you're on a rowboat going underneath it. You duck underneath the bridge. You duck the music underneath the narration, and that's all that means. Without getting into any more detail, we'll let that one go. That's the process. What we just showed you is the same for any kind of software product, video making product that has a timeline in it. Once you've learned one, it's easy to learn another. We used Adobe Premiere Pro for years. It took about a week to get very comfortable in DaVinci Resolve. Why'd we do the change? Well, Adobe Camera or Adobe Premiere Pro with the Creative Cloud subscription got to be too doggone expensive. You're renting software, and DaVinci Resolve is free. What's not to like? And it's pretty good software. Major Hollywood films get edited with DaVinci Resolve. So where are we now?
Technique, process is the
technique.
similar.
Yeah.
Where do you start? How do you start?
Okay. Organization of the material. You know, I should have gone there while we were on that. In fact, I'm going to pop back into that that software one more time. Out here is the media pool. This is where you put all the stuff that's in your film. These are all the things that get used. You import all your material, be it a still photograph or a piece of video, into the software, and then you can place it on your timeline.
The music.
Yeah, they bring the music in also. Let's pop back to, well, I put it all in the same one on this one because it was so simple. All right. We have videos where there's like a dozen different little bins with things in them, simply to keep things organized.
Post processing.
Gosh, Susan pointed this out to me yesterday, that it helps a lot if you do all your post-processing before you take it into the video into your software to make a video out of it. Are you going to crop a photo? Are you going to color correct it? Is there something you want to take care of in it? Do that first.
It's rare that we ever use anything straight out of the camera. Usually there's always post-processing to do to make the photo better.
Yeah.
And who's good at teaching post-processing? Linda.
Yeah.
Linda Gregory.
Linda Gregory with her
Photoshop.
yeah, what to do with this photo? Jean, what's the name of her SIG?
What I can do with your photo.
They changed the name. Yeah.
They changed the name. Yeah, I knew there was something different on it. Yeah, go to Linda's class and you get your photo fixed, and then come to the SIG with it, and you can get your video fixed. All right. One thing I do want to spend just a minute on is one of our pet peeves. When you watch one of our videos, we use basically two kind of cuts. A cut being the transition from one photo or piece of video to the next. We use basic fades to black right back up, or we use jump cuts, or we use additive or cross transitions, where the picture starts out here and then you can see it becoming the next one. What you will not see us doing is spinny things and barn doors and shutters and sparkles and explosions and all of that other stuff. It's distracting. And a lot of them actually take a couple of seconds worth of time in your video to execute all this nonsense. If you're doing something for kindergartners, knock yourself out. You want it to be fun and sparkly. If you're doing a serious video, that's really not the place for it. Personal opinion. Our style is more cinematic. There it is. In nature, unless we're doing a documentary style for one of our customers. We do videos for nonprofits. So at any rate, take it easy with that kind of stuff, and also take it easy with the pans and zooms. It's easy to set a setting at the beginning of your production that says zoom every slide. So you're getting ready to watch a video that zooms in on the thing or pulls back or in and out, and it'll make you seasick after a while. And once again, it's distracting. There should be a point to doing a zoom. There should be something that you want to emphasize, a particular aspect of the photo. So do a zoom on that. Experiment also with how strong you make that zoom. Most of our zooms, not all, but most of them are on the subtle side. You're not going to go from here into there. You're going to go from here over the course of this 4 to 6 seconds to there. It's just not going to change much, but it will be noticeable. That's off that soapbox, because it is a soapbox with me. Susan kicks me under the table every now and then.
Quite a bit.
Once you've got your video, bring it to the SIG and get some input. Some of them, like Barb Woolard's thing, we're going to say, you know what, that's showtime ready. And some of them we're going to say, well, if you tweak this and this, come on in. We'd be happy to have you.
Another good use for the SIG is we had one member who's done videos for a number of years, but like all software, it sometimes will fail you. And he hit a wall and he couldn't solve it. He hit the SIG up for a bunch of stuff. He couldn't solve it. Finally, we came up with the answer for him. So it saved his video. He would have lost a lot of his time and his work.
Okay. All right, so we're about down to the end. That thing about patience, a desire to learn, a willingness to experiment, or like Susan says, push buttons. She's a button pusher. She's more adventurous with that stuff than I am. And keep it in mind that, don't come into this business with an ego so big that you think you can't learn, because trust me, you'd be wrong if you did. I know I've learned a lot since I've gotten into this stuff, and together I think we do a fair job. We're going to finish this with a video that we did. It's one that we like. It incorporates a lot of the principles that we've been talking about here, and I want you to see if you can pick them out as we go through this video, and see if you can pick out the places where we look at it and we say, oh gosh, that could be better. And then we'll, as soon as we finish the video, we'll come back and we'll have a Q&A session.
Guarded by the Vermilion Cliffs of the Paria Plateau, a special place is hidden high above the highway that leads to the north rim of Grand Canyon. To find it, leave pavement and drive north on House Rock Road, then east on Pine Tree Road. Deep sand discourages the less prepared visitor, but times are changing. 2 years ago, the backcountry guides rarely came this way. Now their Chevy Suburbans are a common sight. At the end of the road, there is a large parking area where the BLM also allows overnight camping. It is about 250 yards of deep sand slogging from the parking lot to the rocky area, which is about a half-mile long and not quite 2/10 of a mile wide. Welcome to White Pocket. It is worth the walk, a truly unique and special place. There are no man-made structures or amenities of any kind. It is just wilderness. The color palette is wonderful. Brilliant whites, subtle grays, deep reds, vivid shades of pink, and golds that are especially alive in the golden hour. A spectacle to delight the eye. There is very little vegetation. This is a geological exhibition with unique patterns and fantastic shapes competing for your attention everywhere you look. Even the rare patches of shade could not mute these colors because the reflected light of the noonday sun would seek them out, lighting them up for your camera. There is space enough for a moderate amount of visitors, even if you must sometimes wait for others to move on so you can get your shot. Guarded by distance and poor roads, this geological gem has largely escaped notice until recently. But in this age of geotagging and Instagramming, very few unique places remain a secret for long, and White Pocket is no exception. It has become a destination, and if you lack the means to reach it on your own, there are numerous guide services willing to take you there. The better guides all know where the sought-after photos are located, and their tours seem to consist of making a beeline from photo spot to photo spot. Efficient, to be sure, but it doesn't leave much time to enjoy this wonderful place. In speaking with the tour guides, they related that 2 years ago, they might have brought a single 4x4 with a few adventure seekers out once a month. Now, they are making 1 and sometimes 2 trips a day. Some services even offer overnight stays in tents, complete with meals, even though there are no bathroom facilities. The consensus is that the BLM will inevitably institute a permit system for White Pocket, much like they have had to do for the Wave, which is located not far to the west. for 2 days and nights. And the nights? Yeah, that's a tale for another time.
Okay. We'll stay and answer questions, discuss whatever, for as long as anybody wants to.